Sorry. I was so excited that I forgot to use the mic. I'm so excited to be here. My name is Kathy Jackson, and I'm a director in the IT organization. And I currently lead a team of amazing people doing great things with data and consumers. And this day, I don't know how to put this, but I've been in technology for 20 years, and days like this make me realize how far we've come over the 20 years and how exciting it is to be in a time like this. So first, before I go too much further, let's say happy anniversary to our Administrative Professionals Day. I know how much of a lifesaver they are to me, so hopefully they know how much they are appreciated, and we wanted to take the time to appreciate them. So my hope is that you are more inspired after this week. I listened to all of the speakers, and they were amazing, and you begin to see your dreams as achievable and your fears as defeated. That's the whole purpose. I have the pleasure of introducing a new topic today, Broken Rung, and it's a fireside chat. I am so excited about this topic because I see this discussion benefiting not only my friends, my coworkers, my peers, and also my allies. So if you have never heard of Broken Rung, it refers to a barrier that prevents women from advancing into the first step of management. Unlike glass ceiling, which I think a lot of us have heard a lot, which is how you advance into senior levels of management, Broken Rung is about the first step of management. And the gap that represents this is with qualified, talented people who, for unknown reasons, both personal as well as systematic reasons, are kept out of moving forward. So for these individuals, the challenge is getting behind, right? You're not moving as well as your male counterparts. But for the businesses, there's also a challenge. They do not get the beauty of great minds and great thoughts and diverse talent into the places where we could be extremely impactful and powerful. So today, fireside chat, we are going to hear from two amazing women who have seen the challenge and mastered it. Our discussion today will hopefully inspire you, for each of you to see past these classic barriers that I just spoke of, and be motivated to push past that rung, that bottom rung, to reach your own personal goals and aspirations. So first, let me introduce Dr. Keisha King. Dr. King is a passionate advocate for digital equity and ethical technology. Yeah, give it to her. She deserves props, right? Come on. As T-Mobile's Senior National Education Administrator, she spearheads Project 10 Million. Do you guys know that's a $10 billion initiative that's moving T-Mobile forward? And for decades with her experience, and do you know she has 5 Forbes publications? Like, this woman is amazing. So Dr. King's work impacts millions, earning her recognition with the FCC and beyond. She is a national leader whose voice is influencing and impacting people across the nation. Please help me welcome Dr. Keisha King.
Thank you. Thank you.
Our next guest is Layla Shakely. She is a visionary leader and a co-founder of Wise Systems. Wise Systems is an AI-driven automation platform that streamlines every step of last mile delivery. From interning at NASA to studying architecture at MIT, Layla's dynamic journey reflects her passion for pushing past boundaries. Come on, that's a good one. and including pushing her own self, she's making a difference. So recognizing that logistics as a lifeblood of cities, she's pivoted to the tech industry, raising $72 million in funding and leading a team to streamline this last mile deliveries. As a Muslim American and Iraqi American woman, Layla brings rich cultural perspective to her work, embodying resilience and determination. Beyond her professional achievements, she's also a rock star, guys. Layla holds multiple degrees ranging from Master of Science in Architecture from MIT, Political Science, Digital Art, and Architecture from Cal Poly. Whoa. In her personal life, Layla is a mother of 3 and believes in work-life optimization, prioritizing what matters most. Please help me welcome Layla Shakely.
Thank you.
Thank you. This is so exciting. I mean, I feel like it's just a celebration sitting across from you.
Oh, I'm so excited. Are you kidding me? And I have to start this off by saying it's extremely unlikely that we are here on the stage with you, not because we are not intelligent. We are very intelligent, in my opinion, at least above, the standard, the median. And when it comes to the C-suite, 6% of it is women of color. Okay? And the numbers don't get better when you get to VP or senior VP. It's something like 7%. 50% of the entry-level workforce is female. So I'm just here to say, before she even gets started, we have to recognize and celebrate how unlikely this moment is.
That is so true. It's so rare. I mean, and look at the opportunity that we have in having someone like you to really come in and talk about the experiences you've had and the things that you've accomplished. I think it's such a testament to the possibility of the future for the folks that are working here at T-Mobile. So we're just so excited to have you.
Thank you.
Share a little bit with us about the broken rung. What is the broken rung? What are some of the obstacles that you see happening as a result of the broken rung?
Yeah, I just mentioned how 6% of the C-suite right now represents women of color. And also, I'm in tech, right? We work off of venture funding. Something like 3% of venture funding goes to female-founded teams. I have male co-founders. My numbers are a little bit higher, but not a whole lot of venture funding goes to teams with women. And in fact, this is not my claim to fame because I want it to change. I'm the only hijabi that I know of who has raised more than like $5 million, right? So the broken rung represents the fact that we are just not represented. We are 50% of the entry-level workforce, and something happens as we ascend as women, where we become less and less and less represented. And I'd love to say that we've shattered the glass ceiling, but that's not how glass works, right? You can't shatter it for one person. You have to shatter it for everybody. So Dr. Keisha and I, we are in this incredible position where we've climbed the glass ceiling. We've become phenomenal climbers. And we have this really incredible panoramic view. And so along with being an operator, which is my core, I love operations, I love running a business, I'm realizing, hold on, the things that I see on a day-to-day, the decisions I make are so easy to teach. And this is how you can conquer the fact that women don't make it as much from entry level to leadership positions. So I've dedicated in my spare time just teaching these learnings to women and frankly people of color. I think that the same issues apply. And when you're both, I am even more eager to share these learnings with you because the reality is we're just not represented, right? There's a dominant person, type of person in the workforce and it's not us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think there's a couple ways to think about that, and you and I talked about this a little bit earlier, right? There's one angle of, who's actually being chosen to go into those roles, and there's another angle of feeling like you're not capable of being chosen to go into those roles, right? And some of that, and we from the angle of feeling like you're not capable, we talked a little bit about fear earlier, right? And the fear that comes in and saying, well, this is not just something I'm feeling. This is actually how I was raised. This is like a cultural mindset that says, hey, I'm not going to be able to make it into that first step of management, or I'm not going to be able to make it into the next qualified role, or maybe the next qualified role that I'm thinking about doesn't even exist, right? And that's another conversation. But you shared some really great insight. I had such a big aha moment, but talk to me a little bit about your perception of the fear that we just naturally feel in going into those roles.
Listen, Dr. King, fear is crucial. Yeah. We all feel fear. I woke up feeling afraid this morning, okay? I'll admit it. Yeah. Fear is crucial, and it's extremely dangerous when it's unchecked, but it's a necessary evil when it's checked because growth and comfort don't coexist, right? You have to feel fear to grow, but fear shouldn't be a feeling. Fear should be a feeling that then leads to an analysis. What am I afraid of? Is it imposter syndrome? Imposter syndrome happens when you look at something and think you can't scale it. Growth mindset happens when you look at something and think, okay, I will scale that. So you have to take those fears and think about what is it specifically that I'm afraid of? Do I think that I'll walk in here and they'll say this girl is not capable? Maybe she talks too fast. She's not linear. I'm not learning anything. And then you think, okay, for me, what were the key points that I want to deliver? How can I make sure people leave a little bit more informed than when they came? And I turn it into a set of tactics and I implement it. If you think that your fear is getting in your way, it's not. It's what you need in order to drive you to the next level. Fear is a good thing when it's checked. When it's unchecked, it's a disaster and it can hold you back for years and decades and make sure you never make it past the broken rung. So I like fear. I don't like the way it feels, but I like fear. I think we all need to use it to our advantage because there's not a person in this room who does not feel it. And we have felt it a lot. I'm going to speak on behalf of you.
Oh, yeah.
But I've woken up scared a lot.
Oh, yeah. A whole lot. Not just in the workplace, not just in what we're doing here, but with how we address motherhood, how we address being a partner.
Of course.
How we think about friendships and all the other relationships we have to maintain, right? And then washing dishes, that's a whole nother conversation, right? So it's only natural we're going to feel that fear.
Yeah.
But how do we think about our ability to be resilient? I think that's something that I'd like to talk to you about. Resiliency is something that people talk about a lot. They're like, I'm so resilient. I've been able to overcome all these challenges. What does that really mean?
I was thinking about this yesterday. We did not prep on this.
Yeah.
Resilience is actually a series of choices. I was literally thinking about resilience yesterday, and I was like, what does it mean to be resilient? It means to make a choice when it scares you, and then to make that same choice or a similar choice that takes you towards a goal the next day, and the next day, and the next day, and the next day. So resilience, it's not like, I have a shield, and when things come my way, I just don't care about them because I'm resilient. No, it's a series of choices that I'm usually afraid of, and the outcome ends up being bigger than the sum of its parts.
Oh, that's so good. Did y'all catch that? Oh my gosh, that's so good. You shared, it's something else you shared earlier, just about overcoming fear and creating tactics to overcome that fear, right? And all of this is aligned to the broken rung in such a special way, and how we're able to really overcome the things that keep us from getting there. Tell me a little bit about your ideas on creating tactics to overcome fear, because that was like, for me.
Yeah. Listen, tactics start with knowledge, which starts with an issue, okay? So first you have to figure out what you're solving for. And if you personalize it and center it around yourself, you're solving for a feeling which won't get you anywhere. if you depersonalize it and say, what's the issue at hand? The issue at hand is I want to be a director. I don't think I have X skills, and I've never told my boss in the first place. And in fact, there's 2 people in the workforce that might be a little better than me. Why are they better than me? Oh, they're better communicators. Okay, let me go and aggressively pursue what my gaps are and talk about it very openly. And so now I've taken this fear and this imposter syndrome, which, by the way, the majority of people in this room are women, identify as women, and you probably feel a little bit more than the average person. And I see a lot of women of color, which means you probably feel it twice as much as the average person. And you feel like you don't belong. Something like, I was like blown away at MIT. I found out something like 75% of freshmen have imposter syndrome. And I was like, I thought that was just me who walked in. Was like, I don't know why you guys let me in. I'm not sure who like, was woke up on the right side of the bed that morning. But it's a very natural feeling, and you just have to really conquer the belief and the truth that growth and comfort cannot coexist. You have to be afraid to make it to the next level. You just have to.
Yeah. You know, there's a McKinsey study that shows that women of color feel the impacts of the broken rung so much more than their white counterparts. Tell me a little bit about your thoughts on that.
It's data too. I mean, we see it, 6% of women in the C-suite are women of color.
Yeah.
Something like, it comes up to 30% or so are women altogether when you get to VP level, senior VP level. So the data just starts working against us the higher and higher we go in the workforce.
Yeah.
And there may be many reasons behind it, but listen, this isn't just the workforce. The world is designed around men and a similar type of man. And I'm not saying this in spite, I'm saying this as a fact. Everybody should go home and read the book Invisible Woman. If you are a woman in here, somebody might need an artificial heart. I'm sorry to tell you, you are less likely to survive than a man, because it has been designed for a male's body, which is bigger than the average female body. If somebody needs CPR right now, let's hope it's a dude, because most of us were trained on test dummies that were men, so we are less likely to survive CPR. If somebody is gonna talk to their AI right now, they probably won't understand the female as much as the male, because it's trained on male data. If any of us get into a car accident on the way home, which I'm not manifesting and hope does not happen, if you're a girl, you're less likely to survive it and you're less likely to be injury-free, because your seatbelt, the features in your car were designed around men, right? And so this broken rung, what does it come down to? There are decision makers, they have outcomes. They look at those outcomes and say, what does success look like? Then they take success and they turn it into a series of steps, and they tell entry-level person, you go finish this job, you go finish that job, you go finish that job, whereas the person on the top is accountable of taking all those pieces together and putting a narrative together. What does that turn into? AI that doesn't understand you when you ask it to remind you of something in an hour, because they fed a bunch of male voices in there. The truth is that bias, whether we like it or not, I mean, I have bias, you have bias, right? We will work with people, hire people on purpose or not that maybe look more like us, because that's what our network is. So I would go as far as to say the broken rung is a systemic issue, and our goal today is to leave you all with tactics, because you can approach it from both sides, right? Yeah. And you can figure out how you yourself can have really good climbing shoes to get to the top of the glass ceiling, but also there's some systemic issues that as leaders we need to be thinking about.
Yeah, that's so good. You know, yeah, please. Oh my gosh. So we talked a little bit about the fear side of it, right? And some of the things that we feel. Let's talk more about the systemic piece, right? Like there's this other side of the conversation that we feel like a lot of times we don't have any control over. Like traditionally how systems have run, how hiring practices are in place, how that pipeline is kind of trickling in and not really including us. What are your thoughts on that?
As a business leader, what the world cares about is results. What that means is you need to understand the strategies of your business unit and your business. You need to speak to them. What that means is not centering conversations around you. Apologize less, especially women. You are more likely to apologize more in the workplace and in general, right? And why do we feel this way? Because we are maybe seen as too assertive or too aggressive when we are decentralizing the conversation around us and thinking about business goals. But we're gonna get into a part of the conversation later where really we need to train ourselves each to think about what are the business outcomes and goals that speak louder than my gender, that speak louder than my diversity, that will help me get ahead. And I'm gonna be really real right now. All of us get stereotyped. Wherever we go, we get stereotyped. And there's research behind this. The way that people stereotyped is based on 2 axes. It's competence and it's warmth. So when somebody looks at me, when somebody looks at any woman in hijab, it is likely, not certain, but it is likely what they see is maybe somebody who is warm but not competent based on stereotypes, right? You're a black woman. I'm not going to speak for you, but you can let me know what you think the stereotypes are when people look at you or your family.
That I may be angry or defensive,
right.
that you know, maybe I'm not competent as well, right? There are certain and you know, there's always a surprise. Like, oh, you're Dr. King? You know, there is that surprise there when you start sharing the elements of what you've accomplished and who you are. But I think for me, it's about being able to disassociate from the accomplishments and still feel very valuable, still feel really needed, right? Like, even if I had not done those things, should I not still carry value walking in? Should I not still have the opportunities? Should I not be able to work towards a healthy goal and realize some of those things? And that's the part that makes it a little bit harder.
Without question,
right.
And you deserve it and you're worthy of it. And the sooner you understand the system, the better. Because I don't think competence and accomplishments are the same. But sometimes I have to show up a little bit more buttoned up. Yeah. Sometimes I have to go straight to the problem solving and the value adding rather than the apologizing or the centering around myself or feeling like I shouldn't be here. The sooner I get to the solution, the faster I'm seen as competent. Yeah. And as a Muslim, I can speak to the Muslim American experience because as like, in another world, I'm an anthropologist, okay? and with my community, and I think all minority communities go through some similar life cycle. With my community, between 2000 to 2010, we were seen as scary, terrorists, right? So a part of society where it's like, okay, oh, she's a normal one. From 2010 to 2020, it became the rise of the Muslim influencer. Markets realized we have power. We could sell. You want mascara? There's like 1 million hijabi influencers out there that can convince you what to buy. The era I believe we're entering, but haven't quite cracked, which is another broken rung outside of my own workforce where I'm the boss, so like, you know, I set the rules. But in the broader scenario, Muslim women specifically, like myself, aren't seen as thought leaders just quite yet. We haven't. I have to work extra hard to be seen as a thought leader. I have to be articulate. The first time I hit a stage, my dad, I'm obsessed with my dad. Very, very good mentor. I was on a stage after like Barbara Walters. I don't even know how I got that gig. And I called him after. And I said, Baba, what'd you think? I was so excited. He said, you know, you were phenomenal, but can I ask you a question? I said, yeah. He says, do you want to do this? I said, what do you mean? He says, do you want to talk publicly? I said, maybe. He said, you should practice a little more. Go study it. Study the art of talking. It's an art and it's a science and it requires steps and skills. So if you want to master it, be the best at it. And that was an early lesson. And now in hindsight, what I'm realizing is he saw what I see. We do have to be a little bit more excellent. We do have to try a little bit harder because the stereotypes are working against us. Now, I'm not being a victim. I'm not saying woe is me. Any person in this room can be internally reflective and say, well, I'm probably stereotyped across X axes. Yeah. You know, like another version of the model is stay-at-home moms. I think that I'm a mother. Being a mom is like 15 times harder than even what I do, okay? Managing the tempers and the emotions and all of that. And the stereotype that's projected against stay-at-home moms is warm but incompetent. Yeah. Right? So you could be the most average and standard woman in the United States, but if you have kids, there's still a stereotype model that you fall into that you have to work against. Yeah. So that the sooner we are not blind to it and we're open to it, the faster we can change it. Because I guarantee you, when Dr. King is interviewing somebody who's a female or a minority, she's not working through her own personal stereotypes, and she's the person in power. Yeah. So there's a win there.
A little bit. A little bit of a win. No, I love what you mentioned about being a mom. You know, that's another piece of this broken rung situation that, you know, we kind of don't necessarily bring to the forefront all the time. You know, when someone's thinking about promoting you, they may very well think, oh, well, they have to take care of their kids, right? Or they may be sidetracked, or they may not be able to give 100% of who they are to the role. How do we deal with that?
So I do these Instagram AMAs on career every Friday, and every week I get a handful of questions of, I'm a mother and I want to return to the workforce. My response is always the same thing. You're 10 times better than all the other applicants, and you need to figure out how to take your skills and apply them to the job set. But I also was just speaking to Marcus about returnships, for example, organizations like T-Mobile that really support people coming back to the workforce. So I would invest heavily in mentorship. And mentorship doesn't mean calling Layla every week. Mentorship means look at the resources, look at how other people did it, look at the podcasts, but also take advantage of the systems working to your advantage, returnship programs and such, and tell your friends about them. Because I think really the private sector and hopefully the public sector and our own personal ambition have to work together to accomplish it, because again, it's not working in your favor if you're in that position. And you have to be really strategic to land those rules. But I promise you, when you come back, not 1 minute will be wasted. Find me a mom who cannot do anything 3 times as fast as anybody else.
That's so true.
Find her for me.
Yeah. And then open her purse. She has everything in her purse. Like, she can solve the world's problems.
Give you a snack.
In her purse, right. Workplace culture has been a really big focus for T-Mobile. You see, I mean, there's Magenta everywhere. We love it. We spend our paychecks at the store. How do you think workplace culture can contribute to or diminish the broken realm?
It's huge. There's so much research that shows what you see is what you believe.
Yeah.
Right? There's a big reason why when Obama took office, people were very happy about it and said, this is game changing, okay? There's a reason why when I say I am the only hijabi I know who's raised this much venture, I'm not proud to say it. Because there are many women who look like me that think that they will be treated a certain way, and they probably, maybe will. Yeah. I mean, just as a woman alone, I think 3/4 of venture funds do not have a female partner in the first place. And like I'd mentioned, 2% of venture funds go to all female-founded teams in general. So as you start getting less and less and less likely in terms of your appearance or your beliefs, your chances are also reduced, and we have to be real about it. So the answer to your question is, the more you see, the more likely you are to do. There's something called vicarious mastery. If you have an elder sibling and you see them play lacrosse, it's likely that you'll believe you could play lacrosse at that capacity, right? Or even social proof. You see Dr. Keisha, and you're thinking, why not? Why not? I mean, she's amazing, but also why not, right? And so as leaders, we have to ensure that there's enough examples around the organization who look different. And as people, you have to be very mindful of who you're listening to and who you're following. Are you seeking out people who look like you? Because deep down, you'll be changing your own internal biases and beliefs that maybe it'll be a little harder for you when you see somebody who does it.
That makes me think about the mentor conversation, right? I mean, and I think a lot of people kind of struggle with this, right? They know that our leadership teams are super busy, and they're like, okay, they're too busy. They're not gonna have time to like mentor and talk to me and, you know, really purposefully try to help me in my career. Like, how do we develop those mentorships? I know for me, you know, for years, I've been able to kind of navigate it by saying, you don't have to know you're my mentor. Like, we don't have to put a title on this thing. You know, we can date without saying we're dating, you know. But you know, I think it's really important that we kind of break down those barriers a little bit. How do you go about mentorship?
You know, I've never had a mentor.
Yeah.
And this like breaks my heart because I'm always telling people to get mentors. Then I realized the other day, books are my mentor. I read a lot. And I do audiobooks. My husband says it's cheating. I disagree. So I read a lot. Yeah. And that is something that gives me really, what is mentorship? It's perspective to help you solve your problems faster. The fastest way to do that is say, Dr. Keisha, I have this issue, help me solve it. And she'll tell me how to solve it, fantastic. When I don't have that, I can read how other people have solved these problems. And at the end of the day, what you're aiming to do is you're learning how to solve problems faster, more creatively, and ultimately hit the goals that your organization wants. And I actually, for this presentation, put together a series of strategies because I think you can mentor yourself by being really specific in terms of how senior leaders act and just act like them. Right? So I point this out very specifically, the things that I see in junior people who just join the organization versus senior people who everybody's really thrilled when they join the organization and are expected to make changes. And the tactical differences are pretty doable, in my opinion.
Yeah, I agree. You know, it's interesting, the mentorship piece has always been really important to me because I feel like so often we're not sitting at the table to know the full conversation. And so the mentorship allows me, when I have a million ideas about how we can change, how we can innovate as a business, the mentorship allows me to see into a room that generally I'm not privy to being able to see into. It allows you exposure to those levels that you can say, oh, here are some of the innovative ideas I have for the organization. And the mentor can potentially say, well, here's the direction that the organization really wants to go. Right? And then you can shape those ideas creatively so that it's something that really feels like it synergizes with the direction of the organization. I think it's harder when you can't see, right? And I think a lot of us end up in that position where you can't see what's happening on the other side, but you have all these ideas within your purview. And then you go and sit with your leader, and your leader's like, well, that doesn't really make sense because here's what we're actually thinking to do.
Right.
And you're like, well, can I get a mentor that can see through that window? Because I really want to be able to plan for that thing.
Yeah.
So that's the part that's really important. I would love to talk a little bit more about these 6 tactics, though, because they're life-changing.
Amazing. I'm really
Genuinely
happy to do it.
life-changing.
Oh, I'm so happy to do it. At the end of the day, my personal goal outside of work is to scale these learnings as fast as possible because I see people, talent is evenly distributed, opportunity absolutely is not, right?
Ah, that's good.
And so how do we do that? And so my mantra, like, I just have very straightforward tactics. And if we want to go to the next slide, I can jump into the first tactic.
Yeah.
Something I've noticed, and we've talked about this a little bit, is junior employees bring problems. And that's good. You need to be able to identify issues. To act like a senior employee, you want to bring problems and solutions.
Yeah.
So say, hey, boss, I've identified X. First of all, is this a priority? And when you talked about mentorship and maybe not hitting the mark, you can't assume your boss and your business's priorities are your priorities. And that might be because your boss hasn't communicated the business priorities or they went over your head. In either situation, you want to say, here's something I've identified. Is it a priority? Here's a solution that I've carved out. Would you like me to own this?
Oh, that's good.
And that's an immediate overnight shift from junior to senior.
Yeah. Yeah. And a title doesn't have to change to do that.
No,
Right?
just a little bit of proactivity.
Yeah. That's the one thing that I do love about these tactics is it allows you to truly shift in your mindset.
Yes.
Right? It's not necessarily that everything around you is changing. Your mindset changes in a way where you're able to facilitate a reality for yourself that then drives what the actual future can look like.
And just like resilience, it's a series of choices, right?
Yeah.
Your growth is a series of choices. Nobody's going to give you a baton and say you're the C blank O. It's
Yeah.
a series of choices, and these are the choices I'm recommending you make.
So good.
Yeah.
about this.
And another thing that's really interesting, junior employees see their communication as a burden, right? So they'll say like, I don't really want to have a one-on-one with my boss. I'm not really sure what to say. Or, oh, I know that I got a competing job offer, but I'm probably not that important here, so I'm just going to go. Whereas a senior employee would say, boss, this is what's going on, right? I got a competing offer. I really want to stay here. Let's talk about how we can make that happen. Other things senior employees have told me where I haven't asked them to tell me is, here are the board slides. I prepared them for you. I'm extremely appreciative, and never in a million years would I have asked them to put my board slides together, right? Or even small things at the end of the week. Good work, team, on Slack. Technically, I'm the leader of the team, and to see them step up and see their communication as a strength and a power goes very far. They see themselves as thought contributors to the organization.
That's so good. That is so good. So your title and your level doesn't have to dictate how you're communicating
Absolutely
or how you're
should not.
showing up.
It will not, because if you don't communicate like this, you just won't get chosen. It's less likely you'll get chosen ahead of them, right? And another thing about communication is junior employees tend to get stuck in the weeds when they communicate. Mm-hmm. I'm going to get on a webinar with so-and-so and then run so-and-so and then finish this marketing material. The organization's goal is to generate pipeline so it can create revenue ultimately.
Yeah.
So the webinar is to create a pipeline of customers as an example. So the recommendation for junior employees is say, I'm having a webinar because this quarter we have a goal to increase pipeline by 5%. So finish your sentence, and if you can't finish your sentence, ask your boss why. Why is this webinar important? I know that we're a lot of fun to be around, but why are we here? For example, this conference, why are we important? T-Mobile has invested itself in figuring out how it cannot fall into or be part of the standard of American companies that don't have a lot of women in leadership. And T-Mobile is saying we're going to get ahead of it. That's why we're here. That's why you're here, right?
Yeah.
And so hats off to T-Mobile. Nobody paid me to say this.
Awesome. Thank you.
Take a moment. So go higher. Take it a step up. Even though it is not the problem you were given to solve, talk about the problem your organization is solving.
Yeah, this really does flip. I mean, this flips the way we do presentations too. Like so often we walk in with all these strategies and here's what we're working on and here's what that looks like. Walk in with the bottom line first, right? And then allow a little bit of feedback. And I think sometimes we're scared of that though.
Definitely.
Because we're like, we prepared really well for this. Like I want to make it through my slides, right? But sometimes just being confident enough and knowing you have enough knowledge that if that conversation goes somewhere else, it's okay. Right? You're prepared, you're knowledgeable, you're capable of driving that conversation in whatever direction it goes. And sometimes we have that fear.
Yep, absolutely.
Right? I love this tactic. That's probably my favorite one.
I appreciate that. And I believe it because to get to your position and to have the impact you have to know what the goal is.
Yeah.
You have to know your goal, so you've done it.
Yeah.
And another thing that happens with junior employees is they don't see power in their networks. Something you should know about the next VP that's going to be hired is they're going to come in and they're going to look at all the empty spots and say, I know so-and-so from blank, and I know so-and-so from blank. And HR is going to be like, this is amazing. They just saved me money and time because they have a powerful network. Hiring is the worst. It takes forever. It's extremely expensive. And it's a powerful thing for them to come in. And not only that, hold on, people are running through walls for this leader. We made the right choice. They're leaving their organizations to work with this person. We made the right choice. Junior employees are like, oh, I'm not a Nepo baby. Like, I'm not going to tell them that my sister would really do great in this job. And that's not working in your favor. Take up that space, because if you're not, I promise you somebody else is. And they're developing credibility based on the power of their network.
Oh, that's so good. That is so good. Yeah. And often we don't even see how we can leverage our networks in that way, right? Like when we do step in those senior leadership roles, those networks come in so handy to be able to say, hey, I need to pull on you for more than just asking you for mentorship. I have opportunities, right?
Yeah, and it goes far. Oh my goodness, this person knows how to solve multiple problems, not just educating the world, but look, they've solved this big gap that we have in our organization, this big gap. Yeah, and so the next thing is that junior employees are asked often to fill gaps. Back to the bottom line.
Yeah.
It's not, we need to create more pipeline, it's go run a webinar. And so it's on you to ask, hold on. Why am I doing this great? Now I know, and I see another gap somewhere else. So-and-so just left. There's a vacant spot. There's an opportunity to do a trade show that can also generate more leads. That's not my job, but we need to generate more leads. That's what we said is the important thing we need to do for this organization. Let me jump into it. And again, you always start by asking, I noticed X issue or gap. Is this a priority? You never want to assume your priority is their priority. They might say, absolutely, please do it. I didn't want to overwhelm you or burn you out. Or they might say, no, we don't even have the budget for it. Move on, right? And the more you can have those honest conversations and talk about issues, the great thing about talking about issues is it makes business problems not about you. Again, you're not centering conversations about you. It's not, I don't believe Keisha could do it. It's Keisha never asked. I didn't know that Keisha was willing to do it. And now that she's asked, so awesome, go do it. Nobody's going to close their eyes and, any, mini, miny, mo, and pick somebody to fill a gap. You want to jump on it and prove that you're capable.
What happens when you're in that situation, though, and you get those no's, right? And then eventually it stifles your innovation and creativity to want to continue to drive new things forward.
So that's the thing about fear. Fear kills creativity. And that's why you need to look at it and say, this isn't about Keisha. This isn't about Dr. King. This is about, we don't want to use that to generate leads. We're thinking of another strategy. And you shot your shot, and now you've left your comfort zone and entered the fear zone, and soon you'll enter your growth zone if you do that enough times. Because they'll realize Dr. King is so good at figuring out issues. She's so good at figuring out if I want to spend money on it or not. And she's proactive. This is a leader. You're representing your view, and you're not allowing other people to represent it or their stereotypes to represent it.
That's so good. And realigning it to that mission and the goals of the organization is where the critical piece comes in.
That's right.
So you don't focus on the no, you focus on the realignment and the opportunity to come back with a different perspective.
Bingo.
So good.
You said it. I'll take the credit. You said it.
I love this. Oh my gosh, let's talk.
Something about junior employees too is that they seek positive feedback and they want good performance reviews. They want to hear they're doing everything right. I had a guy Slack me the other day after a demo, and he said, tell me 3 things I could have done better by the end of the day. Best question for feedback ever. Most people don't want to tell you did an average job or a bad job. Most people want to keep it to themselves, and then unfortunately your performance review comes around and they're thinking this person's not really that good, or they don't want to promote you. When you're actively seeking feedback, you realize that feedback is not personal. It's about how you can do the job better. And you want to depersonalize it, right? How did I do on that demo? Make it time bound. Give me 3 pieces of advice. And it's not, then the feedback's not about you, it's about the thing. Senior leaders, if you look at big consulting firms, they charge millions of dollars to come into an organization and tell them where they screwed up.
Yeah.
So why not do that for free?
You do.
Especially if you have somebody who's so good and smart around you. Dr. King, what could I have done better? And she knows she's going to get an email from me, by the way, later today. Give me 3 ways I could have done better.
I'm ready. You're going to get one back. She's going to say, we didn't prepare for any of that.
Oh.
Maybe.
Not at all. And so you want to always be actively looking for it, but it means overcoming the fear of being seen.
Yeah.
As a woman, as a minority, sometimes you're scared of being seen. I recently joined, this is so off topic, I recently joined a soccer team. I was very good at soccer when I was 16. I have 3 kids now, I'm not 16, and I'm not very good at soccer. And so I joined a rec league, and people are very good in rec leagues, who knew? And so I realized really quick that I stay quiet. I play defense, I don't ask for the ball, I kind of just exist. And I was like, well, hold on a second, how do I go from being a boss at work to being somebody on the soccer field who's extremely afraid? Every senior leader, do something you're very bad at. It's extremely humbling. And you start having to ask for feedback. So I set a rule for myself. I have to tell them to drop the ball 4 times every game. So I'll be like, drop, because in soccer, high communication is important to kind of make sure that you play. And I had this epiphany that was very funny when our goalie didn't show up, who's the communicator on the team and aligns everybody. And I just started communicating. I'm like the worst person on the team, but I was the highest communicator. The opposite team overinvested in me because they thought I was really good based on my communication.
Yeah. Like, we gotta guard her.
I was like, this is the best strategy ever.
So good.
You need to all do this at work. Over communicate, over deliver on what you're good at, and what you're bad at will slowly kind of.
We want it to work that way. We do. No, that is such good advice. Oh my goodness. Recently, I actually took that advice, and I asked someone. I went to my leadership team and I said, hey, I've gotten a lot of feedback on like how I can grow, and you've been able to point out, hey, you really have grown in this area, you've grown in that area. But I really want to know what's something that I can specifically work on that will help make my role more impactful for you. And my leader just kind of was quiet for a second. I'm putting her on the spot right now. Don't go look up who she is. She was quiet for a second, but we came back to my next one-on-one, and I had it on my agenda. And she actually was ready, and she talked me through what that could look like. And I think it's such a great opportunity for us. It doesn't mean that the feedback, in my head, I was like, well, I think I'm kind of like already good at that, but like maybe I'm not. And then by the time she finished, I was like, oh my gosh, I can do this, 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 and this. Like, that's easy. Let's go, right? And so I think it's just that great opportunity. And I would even take it beyond just the workplace. Ask your kids. Oh, how can you be better?
Oh boy, I don't know if I'm ready for that.
I know that it's tough, but they see you all the time, right? Ask your kids, how can you be better? Because so often as parents, as moms, we go to the soccer coaches and say, don't talk to my kids that way. Or we go to the teacher and say, hey, don't talk to my kids that way. And then like, as soon as the door closes, we're like, what are you doing?
I'm guilty.
Wait a minute, where's the accountability here, right? And so I love the feedback that you're giving. And yes, confidence and competence, when they meet in the middle of the road, you just have this beautiful synergy. And it's so great because it's literally how you show up, and it's how you just talked about that soccer game.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Probably don't want to join my team,
Beautiful.
but I appreciate the compliment.
I want to join. I want to join. You're fooling everybody
Oh
here.
my goodness.
No, I think, the great thing about the work that you've done, Layla, is that it really does help to create these tactical guidelines of what can I do to transition from a junior team member to a senior team member. Not necessarily titles and all the other things that will eventually come, but how do I do that now from a mindset perspective? It's just, it really has been transformative for me.
Oh, I appreciate that. I'm humbled by it, and I couldn't agree more that it's a mindset which then informs actions, which then leads to change.
Yeah.
And people expect it to be the other way around. There's a vacant seat. Why aren't I promoted?
Yeah.
Well, hold on a second. Let's make it clear that you are the right person for this. And you should be doing that on a daily basis and differentiating yourself on a daily basis. And these micro actions add up at the end of the day. Right? Nobody's waiting to discover us. Nobody for sure discovered me, right? I'm still in the process of self-discovery, shouting from the rooftops. Hold on a second, I think I can help everybody kind of achieve what I've achieved, and I'm on a constant learning journey myself. So I'm extremely humbled and appreciative for your time, and this lady's awesome, dude. Like, thank you so much for taking the stage with me.
Oh my gosh. This is like such a joy and a pleasure to be up here with you. I think there's so many opportunities for women to move up. But I'm noticing, and I don't know if you all have seen this before, a lot of times when those opportunities are presented, sometimes there's a higher failure rate in those roles, right? So like we're moving into roles, but we literally have to like move mountains when we get there in order for the role to be successful. Recently, I had a senior leader talk to me, and she said, well, I got I got this great promotion, but now I'm in a market that like has never ever been successful. And like, I have to make it successful. How do we shift that narrative and say, like, not only are we able to like drive the impossible, like, right? Because she's actually been successful and she's done a really amazing job. But not only are we able to drive the impossible, but we're able to go into roles and drive the innovation in a way that looks very different than had we not been put in those situations.
Yeah, it's extremely challenging, and it comes down to context again.
Yeah.
I've been tasked with blank. The past track record is blank. Here are my strategies. Would anybody like to contribute to my strategies?
So
Great. Now that we're in alignment, I'm going to circle back on these measurables. Team, let's go accomplish this. And you're constantly, I mean, really, that's what we do in startup land every day, right? We tell investors early on, we have this idea, we're going to make it work. They gave us a ton of money, and we have to make it work. And so you're doing the impossible all the time, all identity aside. And so there's an advantage to believing it's doable. Like, I truly do believe it's doable. We're doing it. It's been done. Why not me? Why not you? Why not any of you when it comes to any of our respective responsibilities? So there's certainly a mindset which then informs actions, which then informs outcomes, and a lot of communication on top.
Oh my gosh, yeah, it's so true. So thinking about all the things we've talked about, in what ways can organizations start to mitigate for the broken rung?
We are not doing favors to anybody by underrepresenting women in leadership. The research shows that boards with more women, they outperform companies than boards without by like a significant margin. The research shows that organizations with more gender diversity are more profitable. So we're not doing this to be nice. We're doing this because organizations perform better.
Yeah.
And I understand T-Mobile, for the audience specifically that we're talking to, is doing the advice that I would recommend because it's on us as business leaders to create opportunity. So I would turn the question back to you. How can everybody leave here today with 6 action items that they can take home?
Well, you know, our teams have worked really hard to try and give us the resources that we need to be successful. I mean, from, you know, how do we take our individual development planning seriously, right? How do we sit and say, I don't need anybody else to like dictate my goals of the direction I want to go. What I need people to do is help give me some transparency around where my gaps are, right? And that's a lot of my team was kind of like, well, you know, I want to plan to develop, but I don't know what I don't know. Like, can you tell me what are some areas that I really need to grow in? Because maybe I'm like planning to be, you know, a better presenter, but you actually think I'm a pretty good presenter, but you actually want me to be a better person to help identify problems in the business, right? So how do we make sure that our IDP and the things that we're developing in are actually aligned with the areas that we need to develop? Those are things that we have to initiate, right? Because we're new in this process. Yes, we've done like IDPs year over year. This year, I feel like it's something different. I don't know about you guys, but like you know, I'm drinking the Kool-Aid, the IDP Kool-Aid, the growth Kool-Aid. I'm excited about it, right? Like, how are we leveraging teams, right? Create a teams channel. Start communicating with your teams. If you're a people leader, do your one-on-ones there. You know, create a sample one-on-one agenda. How are we leveraging peer groups and teams, especially if you lead virtual teams, right? How are you bringing those folks together from around the country so that they have opportunities to grow together? They're all at different places of their careers. So often, and this is something in my team, I have a group of team members that lead a $1 billion emergency connectivity fund initiative, another group that lead a $10.7 billion initiative to bridge a digital divide that is like a mix between philanthropy and revenue driving fun, right? And then I have another team that leads higher education advising, another team that leads K-12 advising across all the schools. It's really easy for those teams to say, well, why do I need to do a peer group with that team? Because we do totally different things. Now that they're in peer groups, they're like, oh my God, I'm learning so much from this person. So let's leverage the tools and resources that we have to start creating those cross-team collaborations, right? To help us figure out how do we need to grow. I mean, and I think on top of that, you know, think about our leadership. Our leadership is so open to helping us to develop. Who are the resources? Look at your org chart. Look at the different people there. Look at the positions, the postings that are out there. I look at postings and sometimes they're nowhere near where I live. And I'm like, I just want to know who's leading that thing and how can I develop and grow so that I can at least qualify for that thing, even if I'm somewhere else in the country, right? So how are you paying attention to those job postings? That's why I love how Workday has been transitioned to really help us to leverage it in so many different ways. I'm excited for the future there, whoever's listening. However, we continue to grow. But I think the way that we are building up our systems and how serious we're getting about individual development and performance and holding our leaders accountable for helping us to figure that out, that's how much closer we're going to get to being able to solve this broken rung situation.
Amazing.
Yeah. We have to take it seriously. So I say that to say, come ready for day 5. Christine Sandoval, India Bolton, 2 of my absolute favorite people will be speaking. Identifying skill gaps and the tools that can help you level up. What does it even mean to level up, right? How have I been able to level up? I know for me, coming in from school districts, leveling up looked very different than it looks here in T-Mobile. And so a lot of times leveling up is how you present yourself. How do you show up, right? You don't show up as a title. When people meet you, they don't care about what your title is. They care about what you're responsible for. What do you own, right? Walk in the room like you own some stuff. Have that confidence, right? I mean, and I think no matter what area we're in and what we're impacting, we're all business owners. You own Project 10 Million just like I do, just like my team does that works in the back end of it every single day. You own it. You're able to walk in a room and say, my company has a $10.7 billion commitment to bridge the digital divide. Here's my role in that, and here's a website you can go to take advantage of it. We will ship that device right to your house. You own this. You own every aspect and element of what the most profitable telecommunications company in the world is providing to people across the country, right? How can we walk in the room and really embody that? And that's a big part of this conversation. You can't break ceilings. You can't break you can't mend the broken rung in a way that makes sense if you're not walking in as though you're an owner.
Yeah, that's exactly right. That's exactly right. Very well said.
All right, question answer time. Audience, go ahead and drop your questions in the Q&A chat box if you're remote. And if you are right here in the room with us, you can walk up to the microphone and we will be excited to answer any questions you have.
I see, can I just take the question from the screen? So somebody asked, I love that you shared your experience with your father. If speaking is a skill that we're interested in improving, what resources would you suggest? I have great and very impractical advice that is reserved for people who are very much only like me. So when I decided I wanted to speak better, I found myself, founders, you have to talk a lot, you have to pitch a lot, you're thrown into the ocean with sharks. And I realized very quickly that I wanted to become a better speaker, so I started a podcast and a TikTok. And both of those, so I learned by doing, and both were, especially on social media, TikTok is extremely effective because you have effectively 3 seconds to engage people, and then you have to speak with the right tones to keep them, and you get metrics on how good you're doing. And based on whether or not you grow, you're able to assess if you're good at it. So those are things that I did. More practical tips would be joining like a Toastmasters type of group. And one thing I would recommend that everybody does is before any presentation, you should always do it to yourself, like do the presentation to yourself in the bathroom, record yourself, and think of frameworks. So the STAR framework is really good for presentation: situation, task, action, result. Have like 5 frameworks in your back pocket. What people tend to do is they spend too much time on the situation. Well, I went on this trip, and then I did this, and then I did that, and then I got tense, and then a bear came. It's like, dude, just start where the bear came. No, nobody cares about the rest of it. So think about that in context. Yeah.
I love that. Any other questions? We can come up to the microphone.
I see another one too. If we
go for it.
If we're feeling shy, how do we raise our sons and daughters to remove the invisible woman stereotype? Why don't you start with that?
Oh, that's a good question because I have 2 sons and a daughter.
Yeah.
And I think it starts with how you interact with them personally. And I've been a teacher for years and a principal and all kind of things in schools. I mean, the number one thing is how you interact with them. I mean, for me as a teacher, the best predictor of how a young man will treat women is how his relationship with his mother, right? And the women around him. The same thing for a young woman, right? Like her relationship with the men that are around her. And so start off with how you're nurturing your children. I think that's the number one thing. I think the second thing is allow them to develop their relationships, but at the same time, make sure that you're guiding those, right? Be a part of their relationships, right? Don't just expect them to go off and I know they want their independence and they want to go and like run off and be free, but try your best to incorporate yourself in that freedom every now and then so that there is a standard of how they interact in those relationships. Because there are times when children can very easily, especially when they get like between 6th and 9th grade, they can very easily become someone that like you did not even, you're like, did I raise you? What's happening here? And so stay close to the cuff and they'll appreciate it in the long run. I think a lot of us can look back at some of the things our parents didn't or did let us do and either say you shouldn't have done that or you should have did this, right? Or I'm really glad that you did that. And so I think that's really my biggest feedback on that one.
That's extremely good feedback, and I'll have a very short answer, is that the research shows kids who see somebody start a business are more likely to start a business regardless of social class, and kids who know female innovators, especially women, are more likely to be innovators. The research shows this. So it turns out that if a child believes they can change their own outcomes in life and control their own outcomes in life, they will have a more expanded view of the world. So you want to take them to things like this, right? And talk to them about it. Oh, she does this, he does that. This is how this is done. Explain how the outcome was achieved. And think big picture as well as being a respectful mother who's involved. Yeah.
That's so good. We have a question.
Thank you so much, Dr. King and Dr. Shakely. Really great advice. You gave really good tactics on how someone could show themselves as, show themselves every day through tactical steps on being senior. But not everybody may read these tactical steps. So as leaders, what could leaders do? Like, are there tactical steps leaders can take to nurture that or encourage that, when the other person doesn't really know this?
Such a good question.
Oh, so
such a good question and such a good lens, and absolutely, yes. One thing that I do that's extremely tactical is for my team. First of all, whenever anybody joins my team, I have an operating manual. It says how to work with Layla. And I got the idea from a lady named Claire something at Stripe, the COO. Look it up, it's public. And so I'm either fast or too fast, slow me down. I'm not a micromanager. You have outcomes. Tell me 3 times how you've done it and whether it's done. And all the learning curve, the dating period is gone. It's straight to let's get to it, right? And so something I do with my team is at the beginning of every week, I send and ask for something I call a 5x5. These are the 3 to 5 outcomes I will do by the end of the week, and each person is accountable for their own. So I don't want to know that you are meeting with Tom. I want to know that you're going to finish one of the 3 webinars we're working towards to increase pipeline, right? Maybe a meeting with Tom is a part of that, but that's not an outcome. And the other thing I do is I work as hard as possible to make sure that the team is as informed of the business's big picture needs. So I don't just say, run a webinar. It's, okay, listen, everybody, we're working towards revenue. This is how we're going to do it. And those tend to be very helpful. So I would recommend that guide, working with Claire and the 5x5. Yeah, really good question.
Yeah, I love that. It aligns perfectly with this idea of being a business owner.
Yeah,
right?
That's right.
Every single person that comes in, yes, they have my guide to understanding how to work with my leadership team, but they also know I have to own the metrics that I'm hoping to accomplish each day. No, that's fantastic.
One more?
Go for it.
Wait, one more question.
Hi, I wanted to, first of all, I'm a big fan of yours, Dr. King. You don't know I'm a fangirl, but from the background.
I'm fangirling you back. I'll take it. Thank you.
So one of the questions I wanted to ask is about intersectionality, and especially among women. Yeah. Because one of the things as I get more in, as my career goes longer and longer into in the corporate field is I notice that there is a big gap between, the different races of women. Yeah. One of the things I think that I look at and is sometimes a stark reminder to me about how far we have to go is I'll look at our organizational chart and I'll click down until I see like a woman of color. Huh. Yeah. And it's always like really far down to get there. And I look at the different departments. And I think I start to be like, in my mind, oh, and I guess that's fear talking. Oh, okay, that may not be the path for me because there are no women of color in that area. Yeah. And I recently finished my MBA.
Congratulations. Awesome.
And while it was a great thing for me to do, and I like really loved it, I think one of and T-Mobile paid for it, by the way. So.
Another good
Thank
thing.
you, T-Mobile.
Yes.
One of the things I sometimes find confusing, especially in T-Mobile, is I sort of get dual messages that, getting MBA doesn't matter. Oh, or, this, or having this experience doesn't necessarily matter. It's about if you fit the culture. And sometimes I wonder, like, what that culture is and if that culture includes me. And if it's a culture that I'm not conforming to in the best way. Like, are there things I need to do to more conform to that? Or should I even have to conform? Can I be, that kind of thing?
Yeah. Oh, that's loaded.
Sorry.
The first thing I would say is, and I've been able to do this over the years, is when I'm specifically referring to myself as a Black woman, I don't shy away from it. I don't just say people of color, right? I make sure that I'm specifically saying, I'm talking about, right, needing to see another Black woman in this particular type of role so that I can be encouraged that that's the direction that I want to go. I think that's important, right, in intersectionality, that wherever there is an area that you want to make sure that you're intently focused on and you want to see people advocate for that you call it what it is, right? So that's the first thing. Like, language is so very important. The next thing, as a lifelong learner, because I've been in school, I don't even know for how long, oh my goodness. As a lifelong learner, one thing I've realized, the degrees are important, but the learning and the experiences and the discipline that you get from the degrees are far more valuable than the actual degree, right? And so what did you get from the MBA experience? Because that's what's critically important to T-Mobile as an organization, right? And I think the next thing, to address the what you're seeing with the ladder, right? Like, the ladder is changing. And we're seeing more women, but we're not seeing a lot more women that look like us, that are African-American women specifically, right? And I recognize that, but I do think that there's an opportunity for us to make sure that we're sitting in the right places, that we're engaging the right people to demonstrate why it's important to make sure that we're a part of those conversations and why we have developed the skill set, right, to be able to influence the future of this business. And I think that's the part that's more critical, and that's the part that's going to change the way that kind of trajectory looks. I'm excited because, for me, even the inclusion of white women in spaces that have traditionally not had women at all is a step closer to ensuring that we're getting to a place where Black women are a part of that conversation, right? And I think that those women are continuously also advocating to make sure that women who look like us are in that space too, and they have a responsibility to do that.
Mm-hmm. I think the thing that I look for, is Maya Angelou used to say, when people show you who they are, believe them. So I always look at the visual, because I'm sure everybody says diversity is important and feeling that diversity is important, but what are we seeing?
Yeah.
What is the visual? And I think sometimes, as a woman, I do sympathize with women. I think we're all in this together. But sometimes when I see, like, the lack of women of color, I wonder, like, are we all together?
Yeah.
Is that if a woman, is that necessarily a win for me?
That's what we're working to change.
Yeah.
That's what we're working to change. Thank you so much. That's such a thoughtful question, and I think many of us feel it here. So really appreciate the question and the thoughtfulness. Beautiful question.
So good. Thank you. Thank you so much. Again, thank you all. I just want to welcome Shannon and Emma to the stage. They've done a phenomenal job in getting us all ready for this. Thank you.
Take that clicker. Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much, Dr. King and Layla, for joining us. What an incredible, incredible hour we've had together. And also, thank you, Kathy, for joining us and kicking us off today. Really appreciate it, absolutely. And all of our attendees, both in person and virtually, thank you so much for joining such an important conversation and amazing tips and tricks and tactics. No tricks, just tactics. So we hope you join us for some of our upcoming sessions. This week is not over. We have 2 more days left. So invite your coworkers. If you don't have it already on your calendar, go ahead and click the QR code and go ahead and get those invites on your calendar. You can also scan that QR code for some fun swag. And I will hand it over to Emma to close us out.
Awesome. All right, thanks so much. I want to say thank you as well to our Day 3 volunteers that helped put all of this together. Kristen, Christy, Gilberto, Indu, Marcus, and Nikki. Thank you so much for all of your help. And our WIT communications leads, Sam and Maggie, for helping every single day with everything that they need. Thank you guys so much. And again, thank you everyone for attending virtually and here in person. Replays are going to be available over the next couple of weeks. So if you liked what you heard, if you didn't grab the slides and you want to take screenshots, they'll be available. Share them with your colleagues, share the recordings, and then visit our WIT Week SharePoint or Viva Engage to access any of that information. And then for those of you here with us in Overland Park, please visit our Women in Technology and DE&I tables, which are out over in the other room. Take some fun photos with our backdrops and props here on our last day together. But this concludes Day 3 of WIT Week. I hope everyone has a great rest of your day, and thank you so much. Okay.
She's just a girl and she's on fire, hotter than a fantasy, lonely like a highway. She's living in a world and it's on fire, filled with catastrophe, but she knows she can fly away.